Three, two, one. Hey, good evening. We are now live. As you can see, my name is Donato, by the way, everyone. Welcome, everybody. I don't know how many people are online. A few people have been saying hello. Here we are. As you can see, screen left, right. How is this working? You've got me, Donato, and to the right it says I am Mac. But good evening, Mark. How are you today?
Good evening, Donato. Thanks for inviting me onto your show. It's great to be here. I'm buzzing, actually. I've just
Me
done
too. Me too.
a 4K around the block and got my highest VO2 max of 54. So apparently, Strava's on a 20-year-old. I'll take that.
Wow. A 20-year-old. I was going to say, I've got views about how our Garmin's work, and I think most of us are 20-year-olds, according to Garmin, once you get over a certain point. But how appropriate is that our title for this is Fit for 50 and Beyond. You've recently turned 50, so many happy returns. Was it a few weeks ago, a few months ago, Mark?
December.
December.
Yeah,
okay,
December
so it's just a few months ago. So whilst the title says for Fit for 50 and Beyond, I think it really does apply for anyone of any age, would you say, Mark?
100%. I started this journey when, like getting fit 40, or I think I was 42 or something. So, it's basically a journey,
Yes.
independent of your age. I've always said age is just a number, but as I'm getting older, I'm realizing it's a number that make your joints creak a little bit, and it makes you think a little bit about
Yeah,
full jumping. So
It's
that's where I am at the moment.
excellent.
A little bit older, a little bit wiser.
Exactly. Because what I was going to say, obviously now being 50 with your VO2 max being 54, it'd be good to, now your VO2 is bigger than your age, which is great because obviously a lot of average VO2s are around maybe the 30s, 40s. And obviously now you've
Yep.
got it into your 50s, which is brilliant. Wait till you get it into your 60s, mate. That's when you're really sizzling.
You're
But
just showing off now, Donato.
well, at the moment, mine is being out of action. It's 59, but normally around 60, 62 sizzle. But
Wow.
as I say, I've got views about the Garmin. But the purpose of this evening is, whilst it's wonderful, Colin Johnson over in Scarborough and Run Muffy Run. Good evening to you both. It's great to have some people on live right now. It does say there's 3 people live, so obviously people will be coming on and off as they see us here. But the purpose of this video, because obviously it's going to be recorded and people will be watching on replay in their hundreds and thousands, please do share. The idea is this, that we're going to talk about Mark's journey, and I've known Mark now for 8 years, isn't it, Mark? 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah, 2016.
We were there together, 2016, Brighton Marathon for Cancer Research UK. And that's where we first met. We met in the January before Brighton Marathon, and we've been in touch. And obviously, we've met many times. We've eaten full English breakfasts together, pasta together. We've had some crazy times. But obviously, talk us through. I mean, basically, who you are and what do you do right now? Because a lot of people want to know, occupations and what you do. So just a bit of background about yourself, Mark. And couple of minutes, and then we'll start digging into the detail of the health journey that you've been doing.
Sure.
Over to you.
Yeah, I've always been interested in music and technology and films. So I've always wanted to electronics. So I worked for Rolls-Royce in Bristol for 4 years as an electronic engineer while studying electronics. And then they were getting rid of the younger people for some unknown reason and keeping the older people. I think it was the unions. So I used that opportunity to learn more about sort of music and recording techniques in Bristol. Went to so in York Uni, which was never my plan. This will probably be a common theme throughout the whole live stream. But
plans change, Mark.
Plans change, things change, and I like to keep myself on my toes. So came out of uni. I wanted to work for a hi-fi company. I did a bit of part-time work at hi-fi companies. Meridian Audio, really fantastic hi-fi company, and
I remember Meridian. God, that's going back a bit.
This cannot be my life. So I ended up at Dolby, travelled for 12 years, looking after Scandinavia, working in the film industry. Left there in 2009, started a post-production company working on feature films and corporate videos for 4 years, and then started my film company, Bad Blood Films. So now we make horror and thriller feature films. We have a slate of 9 horror films and 3
We're not going
TV
to show the
series.
horror movies tonight, though, are we, Mark? No.
Well, the first one was released literally the week of lockdown. So March the 20th, we had our first feature film called Sacrilege, about a cult sort of religious offering, shot here in the southwest in Bristol. And that was out in Cineworld, March the 6th. And then March the 7th or the 8th, I think the government were telling people not to go to the cinema. So yeah, we had to rethink
that was a different
strategies.
start. You've been to Cannes, haven't you? You're a proper jet setter with your films, aren't you? You've been to Cannes Film Festival with one of your movies.
With Dolby, we supported the Cannes Film Festival every year. So we went 10 days beforehand and set up, I think, 50 cinemas, projectors, looked after the Fox, Warner, all the big companies. And then through my company, networking and trying to sell our film at Cannes and the other festivals. We had a big premiere in London. It's been
a different world, isn't it?
Definitely a different world. Different from being with a big technical company like Dolby and then running your own independent film company. We're raising the finance, we're doing the marketing and PR, we're doing the sales and distribution. We're really breaking the mold or changing the mold of the way independent film is done here in the UK. And for that, you need to be fit and healthy. So that was one of the things that kind of led me to get fit, because there was a long, difficult journey ahead of me.
It's safe to say you're a very busy man, and obviously you have children as well. You're married, you have children, so you're family man.
21, 20, and 18. So
quick question that's come in is someone's mentioned the Toronto Film Festival, which, as you know, is quite a famous one. I think Angelina Jolie regularly goes there, Brad Pitt and the likes. Although we did see Brad Pitt at Wimbledon this weekend. Who's your big A-lister that you've met?
I did the Moulin Rouge tour with Baz Luhrmann.
Wow.
So we went over to Scandinavia, Denmark, and we had a big chat in Finland. It was the only kind of premiere that in Scandinavia that didn't have the Can Girl dancers and that sort of Moulin Rouge format. They had a band, I think, called the Cleaning Women, and they were blokes dressed up as women. Nothing wrong with that. And they had like household utensils and appliances, like ironing boards and mops and stuff like that, but with strings and pickups, and they sounded really grungy, really underground. But Baz Luhrmann just loved it until they invited him backstage, and he kind of gave it a miss. But Baz was great. I've done screenings for Tim Burton on Sweeney Todd. I've been around Ken. We did Win That Shakes the Barley with Ken Loach out in Cork during the World Cup.
So quite a lot. Have you been to Toronto Film Festival?
No, not Toronto, but we submitted our film first feature Sacrilege to After Dark. So After Dark is like the horror section of the Toronto Film Festival. So that and Screamfest are our sort of the festivals we want to go to, as well as Fright Fest here in the UK. So
Fright Fest. So it's on the list. And speaking of Fright Fest, I think it is quite a varied background. So because a lot of people, when we hear of an excuse I often hear is, I don't have time to this and time for that. So obviously you're a very busy man. You've got children, family, work is 24/7. I can't think of a more busier type of job in terms of what you do, film industry and so on. So talk us through your journey. So from when I first met you, though, that wasn't how you were, because with the title From Fatman to Ironman, do you want to tell everybody where the journey started, size, weight, and just a couple of things that we were chatting beforehand, what you've done to get started? So it might inspire some people who feel that maybe they're a bit too big to get started in being fit. And what did you actually do? As I say, what size were you to start with?
Well, I was 18 stone 4 when I measured myself in the May of 2014, but I think I was actually heavier than that. I just didn't want to take pictures, and I didn't want to weigh myself. Like I think
understand
a lot of people,
that. I was the same as well. I didn't want to take pictures of me being fat. No.
Yeah, you just feel like shit, right? You don't want to. You're depressed. You don't want to get up. You feel like it's not you. And for me, just to give you a bit of background, I was never really sporty at school. Hated running, cross country. Oh my God. Like, you know, I've always been,
No, don't
I mean,
swear, please, Mark. Cross country, please. No.
I think it was only like a mile now, thinking about it, you know, and I do like 5K like every other day. So it's like crazy, but you know, like, I hated that. You know, I was always quite good at racket stuff, you know, tennis and rugby was my big sport, but I injured my knee like when I was 20 odd or something. So I didn't play that. And then a bit of swimming, but not really. I did my mile swim, you know what I mean? But just didn't swim then ever again, and didn't really learn how to swim, didn't really learn how to run properly, wasn't really interested. Always found myself out on the bike with the lads, you know, cycling to Dolby, you know, that was about 12 miles. So I'd do that every now and again, but just sort of kind of keeping fit a little bit, you know, by cycling to work and going out with the boys, you know, having a bit of adventure. And I think, you know, as you know, I had kids in 2002, and you know, jumping into a new working abroad a lot, you know, eating, oh my God, I was doing like 70 or 80 flights a year. So British Airways would always give you bread, you know, beer and bread, like, was my diet,
On the
you know what I mean?
flights, and it's all included, isn't it?
Mini bar, chocolate, nuts, eat
As much
late,
as you
you
can
know,
eat and drink.
eat, just really eat around the work. And then that just crept up on me. And then kind of, you know, to 1999 we got married, 2002 first child, and then kind of 2009 I left Dolby, and then things really started to change, I guess, you know, sort of starting a new company, just all encompassing, sort of really took a lot out of you. And then I think 2013, it was like, I think it was New Year's Eve 2013. I think big family person, would go away with the family a lot, with all the kids, eating, drinking, and I think I was doing some Russian dancing on the floor, you know, as you did.
Is that
All the
Cossack
family,
dancing?
sort of like, you know, hey, sort of, you know,
Wow.
probably 19 stone by this time, and all of a sudden I heard something kind of tear or ping,
Oh,
and I was
no.
like, oh my God, I don't feel quite well.
What
Anyway,
part of the body was this? You felt the
it
tear?
was sort of lower region.
Oh, no. Oh, you
I
mean a
realized
tear in the clothing as opposed to a tear to your
I
tendons
think
or
it was
something?
what I found out, it was a hernia, so I didn't realize that
Oh,
till, you know,
oh, oh.
New Year's Day, and it was really kind of,
As I said, guys, this is live and uncut. So,
I didn't feel good. You
oh,
know, there
wow.
was something weird sticking out my belly button. It was kind
Oh,
of like, and for me, there and then, I thought something's got to change. So
yeah.
I was in reception. It was January the 1st, 2014. And I was like, right, what do we do? And I searched around, what can you do to get fit? And I looked at some Tough Mudders, and I thought, right, okay, do I want to book this? And I just, in my head, my head was saying no, but my fingers were just typing credit card, and I booked Tough Mudder. And that was it. It was in August 2014, and I had 8 months to get fit. So like when I got back on, I think the 3rd of January, I just started to move. And we had like an elliptical trainer at home. So I started doing 10 minutes a day on that, I guess, for the first month or so.
Right.
And then just started to kind of run around the block. And I remember, I think it's only like 2.5K, but I remember my boy coming out. He was quite young at the time, and he was running backwards, saying, "Look, Daddy, I can run backwards, and you can't keep up with me." And I
You
was like,
can't
oh,
keep with him. Yeah.
"Thanks for the encouragement, yeah." You know, like, you know, from the mouth of kids, like live and
Yeah.
direct.
Yeah. Well, they
And I
say it
think,
how it is, don't they?
yeah,
They don't
I
hold
think I
back
stopped 26 times. I never forget it. I
in
stopped
just
26 times,
2K. Wow.
two
And
and a
do
half
you
k,
remember that vividly? Because one of the things
100%.
that a lot of people may be asking, you know, if because you said you're around, you know, 18 stone 4, or you might be 19 stone. Because I say for myself as well, I never took photos of my before because I was just ashamed of how I looked. I'm not into this. This is how we look. But a lot of people may feel that way. Feel free to ask the questions in the there. But do you think it? Obviously, you got movements going, and then you started a walk, run. And even that you found hard. At what point were you able to run non-stop for about a kilometre?
I I'm pretty good at pushing myself, probably,
Yeah,
but beyond the limits of what I should have at the time.
yeah,
Um, I think it was like, you know, a couple of weeks. You know, every single
yeah,
run, it
yeah.
was like 26, and then it was 20, and then it was 16, and then it was 12 times I would stop. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
So it was kind of, and then I think
So
it
you're
was
going around
4.
the block, but just reducing the amount of stops.
yeah, and that was it. I was like, right, 26. I need to beat that this time. So
Yeah,
next time it was
yeah,
18. Next
yeah.
time it was 12. And for me, it was always, I'm quite competitive. I love stats and numbers. I write
Mm.
everything down. So from the day one, I've been filming it. I've got
Yeah,
pictures. I've got notes.
yeah,
And I use platforms for accountability. I mean, not necessarily to engage, but I've
yeah,
started to do that a bit more now because people ask. They're intrigued with the like we're doing now. How did you start? What
mm,
did you find
mm.
difficult? How, what's the magic pill? And there is no magic
Yeah.
pill.
Well, for
It's
me,
just,
there's a magic bullet. I've seen all these videos on Instagram, these products that can make you suddenly fly and feel no pain and zero
it's
injury.
it
You're
really is
telling
like,
me there's a magic bullet?
people say these phrases. Consistency is key, and I think
Yeah,
after like 9 years, I'm starting to really understand like what that means. You
yeah,
know, even tonight I was right on time. I was supposed to do a 5K, probably have 20 minutes. My wife just said she's really supportive. She said, "Oh, why don't you just do a 20-minute run?" I was like,
yeah,
I haven't even thought about that. I just go out and do
yeah,
my
yeah,
5K. It's in my head. It's, swim Tuesday morning, run Tuesday night, and that's what I do. But,
yeah,
sometimes to just go out and do a little bit is really
yeah,
important. So,
yeah, yeah,
going back, it's kind of like I knew I had to get fit for August. I knew I had 8 months, and it was all about initially losing weight. For me, it was a
yeah,
massive driver. I was
yeah.
in triple XL clothes. I was in
Wow.
42-inch waist trousers, and I've got
42.
I've got 32 in all my clothes. I've got all the spectrum, and I was like, all these clothes. It's just going down to the shops and trying to find a pair of 42, the purple hangers. Like it's just doesn't. It's really
So
depressing,
your
and you
waist
really.
dropped down 10 inches. 10 inches.
Well, I got
Yeah.
down to 29, 30 in the end. Yeah,
Oh,
I got down to
29.
12. Yeah, I got down
Wow.
to 12. I got down to 12. Spoiler, 12. Yeah, 10 stone
Yeah.
12. I got down to.
But for you,
Ultimate.
then, what you're saying is you signed up for a Tough Mudder. We'll quickly go into what a Tough Mudder is because they're not straightforward. But that sort of drew you in, and you had 4 months, did you say, to
8 months.
train for that?
Yeah, eight
So,
months.
do you think that's like a good idea to book? Because sometimes people lose motivation or lose inspiration. Do you think it's a good idea to book something ahead so your brain's going, well, I've got something to aim for? Did you find that was a good idea and made you more, as you're saying, accountable? Or
Yeah, 100%. And I think
yeah,
even more so if you do it with people. I think there were four of us initially.
yeah,
The wife of my business partner and writer director, she joined me,
hmm
and who's now our first assistant director, he joined us. And one of Claire's sort of personal training sort of people. So yeah, there were four of us, and I think to have some accountability, to
mm,
have that network, and to have an
yeah,
event, I
yeah,
think definitely helped me. As well as
cool.
other little things, having
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a pair of trousers like a 36. So I want to get into these. I mean, I want to get into the 36s. I want to
hmm
get into the 34s, and I would try them on like sometimes every day, sometimes every week.
Yeah, yeah,
Thinking it's going to happen quick, and it just doesn't.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but I think I lost. I think I went from 18 down to 12 in like the first probably 8 months. So
Eight
there was
months.
yeah,
Wow.
there was a
So it's
big
like,
change. Yeah, I'll send you the thumbnail of this video
yeah,
will
yeah.
show you the first 8 months or 12 months kind of progress, and then
Wow.
I've got another picture of 2 years into that, and then
hmm
the Ironman
Yeah, yeah.
4 years on. So
We'll go
it's
through because it's been a bit of an up and down. I mean, I often say, and in fact, I did record a video today. So when we get into it, life has ups and downs, but certainly your journey's up and down. So we're on the upward trajectory. So if you want to explain to everybody what a Tough Mudder is, because when you mentioned about cross country, one of the things I really hated about cross country as a kid, we were forced to do it. It was only once a year, and whatever the weather it was, and it was always just muddy and raining. It was one of those in the winter, and we just hated it. We had basically just basic plimsolls to run in. There was none of these fancy shoes these
yeah.
days. But you mentioned about cross country, you didn't like it. So what was the draw about a Tough Mudder? What is a Tough Mudder? It sounds like you're running and jumping in mud. Is that basically it?
It's basically yeah. I think it's over
Very
like
tough.
10 miles or something like that.
10 miles.
Yeah, it could be 8 to 10 miles.
Yeah,
It's it's a decent distance, and there's lots of obstacles. So there's probably 20 obstacles. You get like
yeah,
the ice bath, you get sort of electrocuted, no current but very high voltage. You have to get over big walls, and there's like the mud mile. It's not quite a mile, but there's these huge, like 5 or 6 big sort of mud
hills.
heaps that
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
impossible to get out on your own. So it's a
yeah,
camaraderie sort of, people work together in your teams, or even if they're not in your team, standing on everyone's shoulders or heads, or climbing
yeah,
up ropes and just helping everybody get through. Like, it's
yeah,
almost
yeah.
like that leave no man
Wow.
behind.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
going to
yeah.
complete this together. So it's not about pace or speed. It's about,
It's
they put you
finishing.
into pens at the beginning. They really ramp you up, sort of like beat your chest and, do burpees and, come on, are we ready? And you're like, yeah. And then you start running and all of a sudden you're like, can't breathe, it's like, so no one's prepared fully, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
Some people are. You carry logs as teams, big sort of, so yeah, it's a real sort of team building kind of obstacle course that's a bit of fun, but it is of a decent distance. And
yeah.
yeah, I jumped in 2 feet right from the beginning and thought, okay, let's lose weight, let's get fit, and use that as my benchmark,
Mhm.
not knowing what was going to come after that
Yeah,
at all,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is going to be interesting as that
Which
unfolds. Because
leads us on to what. So, so you booked. It was 4 months in advance. You booked your Tough Mudder. You trained for it. You completed it. I mean, how did you feel after you finished? Because the weight still hadn't dramatically dropped, or had it dropped? So had you gone
I
down
think,
from 19 down to in
yeah,
4 months?
it was 19 down to like 12 by August. So over 8 months, it down
Wow.
significantly. And I started the first month doing, just 5-10 minutes on the cross trainer, moving up to 25-30 minutes.
Mm, mm.
And then in February, I started getting out and about doing the walk runs.
Yeah, yeah.
At the end of February, we walked from Bristol to Weston. Uh, it was just like, oh, let's just do this. It'll be
Let's
a
go for a
laugh.
walk.
And
How far is Bristol to Weston? For those who don't
it's
know the West
21
Country,
miles.
21 miles. You just decided that
It
let's go
was
for a walk for 21 miles. Wow.
It was so difficult. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I was going to pass out as I hit the train station in Weston-super-Mare. I think my brother actually carried me on the station.
Yeah.
It was dark. We thought it was going to take, like, you type it into Google Maps and it's like, oh, it's going to take like 7 hours or something like that. I think it took us like
How
13
long did it
hours.
take?
Like
13
13,
hours.
14 hours. It was just horrendous. And we were walking on dual carriageways. It was horrible. But we did it. I started running then a bit more, and we booked the Bristol 10K in May. So I really pushed myself for that. So we started doing, 10Ks before May, I think
Yeah.
3 weeks
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
And then obviously I started playing squash, just because I
Mhm.
used to like squash at university back in 1994. So we did that, and and then I started Insanity, with the DVDs, where you kind of, I think
Yes,
it's an
I've
ex,
heard of that. Yeah.
I think
Is
it's an
that
ex,
still going, Insanity?
yeah, I think it's like an ex basketball player or something, and it's kind of very high intensity before Joe Wicks and all that sort of stuff. It was
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
put the
yeah, yeah.
DVD on, you do anywhere from a 20 to a 40-minute program, and the sweat just drips off of
Yeah.
you. You know what I mean?
The
So
idea is it was insane that you would an insanity level, so high impact, high intensity. I think it was HIIT training.
yes,
But the key message I'm getting from you, Mark, is that when you started, that you didn't go straight into running. You were doing the elliptical to get things moving. You
and then
continued with the
walking.
elliptical even when you did start the running and the Tough Mudder, and also squash. So you're doing effectively, the message I'm hearing is you were doing a lot of cross training. You weren't just running, and you were doing
Yeah,
swimming as well. So you've now you were focusing on 10K. So you never had. When did the idea come to you that you thought maybe I want to do a marathon, or maybe I want to do an Ironman, or maybe I want to go further? Did it all hit you all at once? Because some people watching, I've seen a lot where they do couch to marathon in like 4 weeks. Some of them do couch to marathon in 0 weeks, just turn up and run a marathon, um,
my word.
which obviously has certain connotations, but that'll be for another video. Did it all come to you all at once, Mark, or did you take it stages? So talk us through You know, you started doing those 10Ks around Bristol.
Yeah, well, after the top in August, I needed my next kind of thing to do. So I immersed myself in September. My cousin introduced me to something called Freeletics, which
Okay.
was, I think they had just over 1 million people subscribers. I
Yeah.
don't know if they were all active at the
Do you want to
time,
tell us
but
what freeletics is? It sounds
yeah,
something freedom
it's
and
like,
athletics. Is that what it is? The two words?
well, you're a free athlete, so you're
Oh,
free as
okay.
in you're not tied to a gym. You can do it all
Yeah.
at home. Just need
Hmm.
a mat, maybe a pull-up bar, but you don't
Yeah.
need a pull-up bar. And then you subscribe to like a 12-week a coach program, and
Hmm.
of course mine was like lose weight and build muscle. So that they are kind of two contradictory kind of things, which I now know. But at the time, it was like I still want to continue to lose weight. I want to get a bit stronger because I knew the cardio with the strength is not only strength and conditioning, but allows you to change your body shape quicker, it burns
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
energy, stores local glycogen, in your muscle cells. So it really, if you're looking for the magic pill, it's kind of the hit, coupled with strength, because
Yeah.
that is the afterburn, and that is the muscles that continue to burn
Mm,
as
mm.
you've got more muscle mass and
Yeah.
reducing the fat burn. So I kind of got that quite early on. And then after the first 12-week program, I noticed a decent transformation. So I went another 12 weeks. I think I've got up to 30 or 40 weeks. And then they approached me and asked me if I wanted to be an ambassador. So I was like, this is just great. So yeah, I joined the ambassador, and I was kind of, I was quite active on there. It was like 5-6 days a week doing, 400-meter sprints, coupled with, 100 pull-ups, coupled with 200 push-ups. I think December, Christmas Eve, I think we decided to get a challenge together where we would either do 500 push-ups or 1,000 push-ups, like in one go. And I just come back from
So,
the pub. And I think I'd had 3 or 4 beers, and I was like, "Oh, I need to get this challenge done." So I did it upstairs. I remember, like, everyone's downstairs, like chilling with the family, and I was like, I think it took me 42 minutes, which now it was quite
wow.
quick. At the time, I thought it was not. There were people doing it quicker. Of course, you're always looking to push your boundaries. So 2015 was a bit of a kind of a strength-based year, learning a lot about nutrition and food and fuel, and transforming my body basically, and feeling strong and fit, and lots of fartlek, lots of
Because you're now down to 12 stone, you were saying, yeah?
yeah. Now I'm like down to 11 3. So
Oh, wow.
11
Okay.
3.
So you,
I've been down to 10 12, but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
probably a little bit too light for me. But since Ironman in 2018, where I was 10 stone 12, I've gone up to 16 stone
yeah.
twice. Once in 2019, once again in 2021. So on that last kind of time I yo-yoed, I really wanted to make significant changes, which obviously
Yeah, yeah.
we'll come back to. But
Yeah, we'll
from
come back to
2015,
it.
from 2015, at the end of 2015, my brother, over a beer again. Everything was over a beer or 4 gin. It was like, okay, let's let's do a marathon. He said, "Oh, I've applied to London Marathon," and I was like, "What? Without inviting me?" You know what I mean? I was like, "Right, I'm going to do it." And then he said, "Oh, we might not get in." So we said, "Okay, let's do the Brighton Marathon." It's like the week before. We're not going to get both of them, of course. Like, we signed up for Brighton, paid for it, and decided to raise money for cancer research. And then the London one came in, and we were like, "Oh my god!" Like, so we're gonna have to run 2 back-to-back marathons. For first, we better run a half marathon. So then we Bath in March, so March 2016. We booked the half, and then we did the Brighton Review. That was our first
Yeah,
marathon in the
yeah.
April, and then the London Marathon the week after that, whilst flying to Denmark and doing a job in between. So we had
Wow.
our 20-week plan. I think it was a 16-20-week plan. We
Yeah,
went to
yeah,
London with cancer research. We met Seb Coe. We met
yeah.
running. What was it? Running for Us, or there was a company that were telling us about all the stretches and stuff like that, and we suddenly realised, oh my god, what have we gotten ourselves into? this is
Yeah.
really, really far. And like we looked at the training program and it was getting serious. You know, I mean, you've been there. It's like,
Oh,
because when I
absolutely.
first started running when I was heavy, like, I really got a lot of shin splints. I had a 15-pound pair of Carabmore trainers that fell apart in the washing machine. They were like running on marshmallows. It was just, and the guy we went to a run in Swindon, and he said, "Oh, let's do your gait analysis," and we were like, "What's that?" And he put us on this treadmill and done the lasers and all that. And he said, "Oh, you're neutral," and blah blah blah, and offered up this Saucony Triumph 4, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, this is the Rolls Royce of marathon shoes." And I put it on, and we tried some other ones on, and I was like, this just felt like slippers, you know, really warm,
Really comfy.
cozy, like comfy. You know what I mean, cut to like running the Brighton Marathon, the fish smell, the going out too early. I was like, oh my god, like you don't even think about the trainers, you know what I mean? But it was such a journey. I think it is about the journey. The people talk about it's the journey, but you know that marathon sort of 20 weeks training, you learn so much. And I
Yeah.
think because we were used to doing the freeletics and the insanity and following programs, we literally stuck to it religiously. We picked
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
intermediate. We said, let's go for a sub 4. We even got pictures of us like in the sub 4 queue, and we're like,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
ambitious was that, man? I think we came in. We came in at 5:01, and then London was 5:05, like the week
Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
But we just decided to enjoy the London because, like the Brighton, we did everything by the book, right? And we were on the sub 4 pace. We'd run like 4.5 hour, like in our training, which we're not supposed to run the marathon, but we did. And I remember our wives picking us up because we were just absolutely knackered and we had blisters and we couldn't walk it, we couldn't run anymore. So and it was raining, so they dumped us in the van and yeah, we just like, you know, and that's how I always run with Vaseline, and I've never got a blister since. People use KT tape and
Yeah.
all different types of things, but you know, me, Vaseline, and you know, I still double skin socks and stuff like that. It just didn't work, but the Vaseline just worked really, really well. And the trainers, the Saucony, stuck with them like forever. They've just been absolutely brilliant as a company. And yeah, off the back of that,
I was going to say, so it's literally a drink between you and your brother. You decided to do the marathons, but would you
I'm raising
say,
money for
yeah,
charity,
yeah. So
which we
raising
raised
the
about
money for
25
charity,
grand.
which was brilliant. But the 2 marathons back to back, do you believe you were able to do those 2 because you'd already spent a year of running and freeletics, strength training,
100%,
and
you know,
got you
because
ready?
I
So
don't think our bodies wouldn't have recovered. They didn't recover anyway. We've you know,
yeah,
but we had a good level of fitness. We were much lighter than we were, so we were able to do it. You know, the
yeah,
rest week in between the 2 marathons, we literally didn't do anything. I think we walked around the block a couple of times, but
yeah, yeah,
it was all about sleeping as much as we could, eating as much as we could, you know, within reason. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
you know, and just really rest and recovering. You know what I mean? And it was
yeah,
really weird because people always talked about tapering, and it's really important. You know, that you're this kind of Chevy engine
yeah,
ready
yeah,
to
yeah,
go.
yeah.
You know what
That's
I mean,
right.
and
Did
then
you taper?
we did, and people we caught on to this taper madness, which was just so funny because it reminded me having a horror company of oh, what do you call it, the what is the
Maranoia.
yeah, what is the films where all crazy deaths happen? I forget what it's called now. It'll come back to me, but it was it was like that. You know, we would open the cupboard and all the pots and pans would fall out like on our feet, or we'd drop hot liquid onto the floor and like jump out the
Oh
way,
yeah,
and
yeah. So the
the
paranoia
knives
of
would,
everything going wrong and
everything would go wrong. And
accidents.
then you know, we were like, oh, we're gonna go in the bath and get like hung by the sort of, you know, shower curtain or something like that. You know, it's really a bit of an exaggeration, but it was good fun because it was like, oh, this happened today and that happened today. And I think, you know, going on that journey with someone else, you know, was quite emotional. And we were on the BBC, you know, it was, yeah, it was really emotional to sort of, because we were doing it for cancer, and our auntie had passed away with cancer, and my cousin had breast cancer, and you know, everyone knows people that have been affected by it. So you know, it really helped us to dig deep when we were doing it. And I think there was a driving force, and it suddenly became so much more than just losing weight and getting fit. It was kind of encouraging other people out of their comfort zone and joining us on this journey. And that was just like next level kind of enjoyment and joy, and just, you know, and helped us all to kind of move forwards in this kind of wave of positivity. And right, okay. And then someone looked up and said, "Oh, I think it was someone at the cancer research place saying, oh, do you guys, we're running the ultra marathon Race to the Stones in you know, you're fit enough, you've done a couple of marathons, you've done all your training, do you want to join us?" And we were like, okay, let's just do it. You know, I mean, they're like, yeah, we got a place for you. So, you know, there we were.
And then there you went, July Ultra. By the way, the movie Final Destination.
That's it, man.
Where your time is up, you're gonna die. Yeah.
We basically cheated death, right? So you know, it followed us around Brighton and then London, and then to Race to the Stones. It was like, you know, we were always chasing it. I think we're still chasing it now, to be honest.
So did that happen literally on the spur? Was it London Marathon week, or had you recovered? How soon after London Marathon did you decide to do Race to the Stones? Which is 100 kilometers, by the way, isn't it? Yeah, 100K.
I think if it would have been after any one of the marathons, we would have said no. But they caught us in the training session on a high in February. So before we'd even done the Bath half.
So before you'd even done the marathons.
We were like revving, you know what I mean? We'd stuck to the plan. We're like 10 weeks in. We're like, we got this. And then they're like, yeah, you know, you can do this. And we're like, yeah, we can do this. You know what I mean? And then they're like, okay, you know, saying that you would have done 2.5 marathons, and that you would have done all the training by then. And we were like, yeah, let's sign us up for it. And it was.
How did it go? How was the Race to the Stones? I was going to say, was it a good idea in hindsight, or did you enjoy it?
It really was, because unlike marathons, like, it's not about pace. It's not about, you know, like all this serious training. It's about like eating cake and drinking flat Coke, and you know, and you know, I think dialing more into the nutrition, and you know, and just talking to, you know, walking the ups, and you know, a bit more easier on the body in some respects. You know what I mean? As long as you're doing your strength and conditioning, I think that really comes into play. It's like, you know, which we didn't realize, and we really should have done a bit more of during the marathon training. You know, the dynamic warm-ups and the 10-minute sort of stretches. Every time we got injured during the marathon training was because we tried too much too soon. You know, I've got IT band problems, I've got shin splints, I've got hip issues. But every time I did my 10-minute stretch, that the cancer research run team run with us told
running
us.
With us,
running with us. Yeah, they I think they trained a lot of the pros and stuff. I didn't get any issues at all. So we just continued to do that, as well as doing the freeletics, because that was our happy place, being strong and kind of doing the long distance stuff and not running fast. You know, we dropped to the interval training and just kind of done long, steady, slow runs off road. And it was just really enjoyable, because you were, you know, we've got Barbary Castle and the Ridgeway sort of
on your doorstep,
minute drive on the doorstep. So it was, it's just really, it beat the pounding of the pavements and the seriousness of the lycra clad, you know, in the run suits, and it was more about just kind of, you know, just chatting and hearing people's stories, and you know, and a bit more sort of a different breed of people, I would say.
So I remember it might have been yourself who told me that the an ultra is basically just a long run with picnics in between. It might have been yourself, Mark, who said it, or someone else told me.
Every 10K there's like a food stop, so you normally eat something.
So you're just eating and drinking all the time, because you have to. You can't just run like a couple of gels like during a marathon. It's a long way, and you've done it all at once. So there's none of this camping overnight, or did you camp overnight?
Well,
so 50K one day and then 50K the second day.
There definitely was some of this camping overnight.
You had a bit of an
Oh,
unscheduled stop.
thanks, Donato. Cheers, mate. No, but the plan to do the hardcore 100K on the line, and then do the 100 miler, which we've never done. We've done 3 ultras. They've all been well, apart from the Green Man, which was brutal. We did that the March of the 2016, and that was 45
That's
miles
Bristol
unbroken.
to Bath, isn't it? Is that Bristol?
I think it's a circular forest
It's a
path
circular-
around Bristol. So it is, it's 76K. We did it in 12 and a half hours with
Wow.
unbroken. So that was my longest ever run to date without stopping.
Wow.
We did Race to the Stones in about 12 and a half hours, so 100K, but it was over 2 days.
Yeah.
So 6.5.
Yeah. So what happened after Race to the Stones? Because we're going to go through. Because again, some people are thinking you mentioned about the yo-yo. So you got yourself down. You're super fit. Race. When did it? Because you mentioned it was around 2018 was the first where you went back up the weight. So you've now got an Ironman booked, haven't you? Did you book?
Yeah,
Bolton Ironman.
2016 we did the Ultra. 2017 we did the Green Man. And then towards the end of 2017, my bro who I was training with, he was going more, I want to get sub-4 marathons and run faster marathons.
Yeah.
And I wanted to, I missed the cycling, and kind of wanted to, get into triathlon. So, the lads were interested in doing a triathlon. So we did an early triathlon in March 2017. I did an Olympic triathlon 2017 in May, and then another one in June, and then I did half Ironman Weymouth in September 2017. So for me, learning, and that was going from not having swam since I was at school, since I was like 13, to actually learning how to front crawl. I took swimming lessons, and I was swimming 2-3 times a week. Once again, I went for the intermediate program, booked in the Ironman, the half Ironman.
Yeah, 70.3.
Yeah, in September 2017. So that whole year was kind of 2017 was triathlon year, strength and conditioning, dialing nutrition. So I was on it. I was like really focused. And then off the back of that, I think within a week or two, I booked the Ironman. I was like, that was like, I had the taste for it, and I loved the cycling. I loved the swimming.
You wanted to go longer.
I wanted to do the grander prize. You know what I mean? Like,
you are an Iron Man.
Oh, mate, there's no other feeling like it. Like, so the rest of 2017, I was ahead of the curve, cut back on my drinking. I was still typing, can I still drink? How much alcohol can I drink? Like, whilst training for an Ironman? Because it's like, it's in my culture. Like, I've always been drinking from early days, rugby days and stuff, which we can go on, because that was kind of part of the issues of yo-yoing. But, finished the Ironman. It was just, my family came up to Bolton, supported me. It was just, my daughter was there, my dad, my mum. It was like, hear those words and to, see your family support you. And there were lots of people who I was training with online. Also, I met up there, and just an incredible moment. I think it's one of the highlights of my life to do it. It was quite emotional. I mean, and
I can imagine.
I
you
did it.
Invest over 6 months of training, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like rock up. It's
just, I guess it was a year of kind of triathlons and, really dialing my, it's weird because the weakest thing, which was my swimming, and the strongest was my running. Actually, the running was what I found more challenging, and my fastest and the best thing was the swimming. Which was really weird. I was swimming like 152 meters, and I started off like 3:35. So I was almost like a drowned rat. You know what I mean? Kind of like gasping for breath, kind of like I did when I started running. Like I couldn't breathe and couldn't get the oxygen through.
Yeah.
Like my VO2 max was 51, and I was up there, and I was cycling like 100K every weekend. Joined a local cycling group. I loved it. But off the back of that, I was like, yeah, I deserve a break. You know what I mean? So barbecues, beer, and then, you know, making the movie in 2019, you know, at the end of 2019, it was like, oh my God, like I'm back up at 16 stone. What
So
the
did the
hell?
training stop? Did you stop doing the activities and then
I think
focus on work?
what happened, I didn't stop completely, but coming back off the back of Ironman, I think I must have put on about a stone or two. Um, and then I tried to sort of come back in at my normal kind of pace and the normal sort of things I was doing.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, my body was like, time
What are
out,
you
man.
doing
Like,
to me? Yeah,
your
yeah,
body's A, still recovering from this last 4 years.
yeah,
And B, you can't, like, you've got to come back in at 20% or 50%, you know, at
mm,
least for a
mm,
month or two. And
yeah.
so I kept doing that like for a year and a half, you
So
know, and
you were
just kind
coming
of
in too hard and then having to
too
cut
quick,
back,
too
and
much too
then
soon.
too hard and cut back. Yeah,
It's always like 99% of the issues that people have is too much too soon. And I
yeah,
realized that when this Portuguese trainer came in and he just like spotted me on, I was having some issues on Instagram, and he just said, Mark, like, it's amazing what you've done. I think it was 3 weeks before my Ironman, I was having these IT band issues. I did a 30K, ran the block, went 3 times, 3 10Ks. I'm feeling fine, like, but he was like, look, you know, I can see that you've had like 3 or 4 weeks off before this. You really
yeah,
shouldn't have stuck to the plan. You shouldn't play catch
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I gave him my Strava account, and he just highlighted from 2016 to 2018, 3 weeks before my
Wow.
Ironman, like the points that I'd failed and injured myself, and each time it was too much too soon. And
Yeah,
from that day onwards, I start to really think about, you know, every time I had breaks or colds or flus, you know, seasonal stuff, every time I was feeling down, or, you know, more listening to my body, you
mm,
know,
mm,
listening to the oh, what was it? The you know, lots of apps and tech and gadgets and
yeah,
stuff that measure your resting heart rate, but also your you know, the beats in between.
yeah.
I forget what they call
HRV,
it.
heart rate
Yeah,
variance.
that's it. The heart rate variations and stuff like that. Because, you know, and one, I think the first big scare I had was during the Ironman training. I went out with the lads. We had a massive session, Jack Daniels and Coke, and I think we had like double cheeseburger, and then went out clubbing. I know, like, I mean, like, and then had a curry, and
Mm,
I kind of basically overloaded my stuff. And I think I came home the week and went for a big long walk as well. I think it was like 40K walk, 40K walk. Came home on Sunday. I think the Winter Olympics were on of 2018, and also my stomach felt really bad, and I wanted to throw up, so I went in the loo, and it was more than that. Like within half an hour, like there was a pool of like sweat on the floor. I was like crying like a pregnant cow, and the
mm,
family
mm.
all came down and they were like really concerned. I said, like, you've got to call 999, like this is really bad. Anyway, they came within like 15 minutes. They took all the measurements and stuff. They said, you know, we think it might be gastroenteritis,
Mm.
um, but we're going to have to take you in because your heart rate variability was like off the scale. It was reading
Yeah,
wrong. Your
yeah.
heart rate was low. I think it was like 54, 52. I think, you know,
Mm, mm.
I forget the terminology, but they said, you know, anybody with that sort of variability, even though they knew I've been training for an Ironman, they said to be safe, we need to take you in for further
Yeah, yeah,
tests.
yeah, yeah.
So next minute, I was like on a machine, like
The,
stuff all over me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
All the
yeah. And
indicators all over
swaying,
you. Yeah,
like in pain, and they wouldn't give me anything for like hours. And this, I remember, like, you know, in A&E is like these little shower curtains, and I think one woman said, for God's sake, give this bloke some morphine. And they gave me this little cup, and it was like a scene out of Train Spotting. It was just, oh my God, you know, cue Lou Reed, perfect day. It was like, oh
wow.
my, it just
So you
looked,
drank that, and then it just
the
calmed
pain just
everything down.
went,
Yeah,
calmed
yeah, yeah.
everything down. They sent me home, you know, after 4 or 5 hours of monitoring. Um, and it really got me on that track of thinking about, you know, was it the overeating, was it the overtraining, or was it the alcohol? And everyone was just saying, yeah, it was, of course it was the alcohol. And I was like, yeah, but it might have been the burger, might have been the rich food. You know, always trying to blame
Yeah,
everything apart from
yeah,
the alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, and back up, you know, the obviously this was before Ironman, so my weight was pretty decent by then. So, but you know, forward 18 months back down to 16 stone, foot off the gas a bit, you know, made a feature by then, and just like it just caught up with me. So, and then COVID came, so we just decided to once again, let's do something about this. You know, everyone was drinking, they were clapping for the NHS because
Yeah.
everyone was kind of putting their bottle and their recycling cans, and once again, everyone just started drinking a lot. And you know, the
Mm.
smart people went out and walked regular. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we just stayed in there drunk and kind of I was still making the film, you know, doing
Wow.
the marketing and stuff like that behind that. So the company Bad Blood Films, our company sponsored us, me and my brother, to cycle John O'Groats to Land's End. So, and we did that for Mind, the mental health charity, because we were
Mhm.
both suffering from mental health
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
issues, and a lot of our family and friends were suffering. I think everyone was suffering, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it really changed everybody, you know. So we wanted to get back out again, do a big event, draw attention to mental health, raise some money for Mind, and get ourselves back on track. So we picked it back up with the BBC, another weight loss kind of push.
Yeah.
You know, we'd done joggle in 10 days. That was amazing. Once again,
Wow.
friends and family supported us. Um, that was 2020. And then 2021, once again, like I tried to claw back, kind of, you know, doing some running, doing some running events, doing some Olympic triathlons, and just kind of I got COVID a few times, you know,
Mm.
just really couldn't get back on top of it. So, but you know, once again, lost. I went from 12, almost 16 stone, back down to 12, and then went back up to 16 stone again in, you know, December 2021. And that's when I kind of thought something seriously needs to change. I can't keep yo-yoing like this because it's such an effort for your body to
Yeah.
go on this weight loss journey. And you look back and mentally it just, you know, you're back up to 36 waist instead of 30. You're, you know, back up to 16 stone instead of 11. You're not like strong anymore. And on top of that, you know, you're getting ill all the time. Everyone around you is depressed about money. It's just, you know, work's dried up. It's just horrendous, man. So I really decided, okay, if I'm going to be 50 next year. I took a video on my birthday on the 8th of December 2021, knowing I was going to be 50, 8th of December 2022. And I decided to just vlog it, log it, and really go back to basics. Where did I feel strong? Where did I feel confident? What worked? What didn't work? And I realized actually what I enjoyed always was the adventure and the journey. And I enjoyed the community and working with other people to, you know, so we all get fit together. But the alcohol just seemed to knock me off track every single time. You know,
Mm.
it was like the come down from the events, the sunshine would come out, you would drink, you would eat barbecues, and then for me, I'm like all or nothing. If you
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah.
guessed it already, all or nothing kind of person. So it
Mm.
was like,
Mm.
okay, event's over, let's drink, have fun, and do that for 8, 9 months. And so this time, I just thought, okay, let's just. I'd given up alcohol for 3 or 4 months, like before during my Ironman trainings and dry Januaries, but
Yeah.
this time I thought, okay, let's make a real change and see if I can just cut that out completely. Let's go a year. I thought,
Mm.
let's go 3 months because I've done that. Let's go 4 months. Let's go 6 months. Let's go 8 months.
Yeah.
Right, I've got to go a year now. So, you know, that first year I just gave up alcohol and got to weird stories and funny stories and stuff about that. But it was, you know, it was really interesting. And for me, everything just kind of fell into place. I was doing kind of what I enjoyed. It was sustainable. I was doing shorter journeys. I wasn't running marathons anymore. I do like 10K max at weekend and
Mm.
enjoy it.
Mm.
I do fast 5Ks and fartleks like in the week. I do
Yeah.
3 strength sessions. I started off once again doing 10, 15 minute strength sessions. You know, can I do 3 sets of 10 push-ups, 3 sets of 10 pull-ups, 3 sets of 10 sit-ups, and that was it. Like that was what I started with because I thought
Yeah.
if there's anything I've learned is like the consistency is key, and if I once you sort out your personal diary and for me, then it's kind of set in stone. It's like I strength train Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I swim and run Tuesday, Thursday, and then I do a long run on a Sunday. So I have a rest day on a Saturday, and that's my framework. I didn't even think about it. It's just kind of like go back to the
Become a
training,
routine.
and not let it build up where it's so intense. It's just sometimes I like every 12 or 15 weeks, I kind of scale right back. I might take 3 or 4 days off, just go out, have a bit of fun. And then I come back and I like start at like 50% again. Instead of 5 sets of 10 or 5 sets of 20, I come back to like 3 sets of 10 and, build it up much quicker, maybe use weighted vests, maybe try and just tweak it a little bit. But for me, it's always about not letting that side of the brain that always wants to come up with the excuse of like, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to swim tomorrow. It's midnight on a Monday, but I'm booking it anyway because I'm not listening to that side of the brain. It's just, yep, it's booked. You're going up at 7 o'clock tomorrow. You're gonna have a coffee. You're gonna go swim, and there, like, I don't want to get out of bed. And then you're at the lake and you're like, oh, it's raining. I don't like this. And then you're out and it's like, okay, man, I'm ready for the day ahead now. Like, I'm ready for a run tonight because like I feel I'm buzzing. You know what I mean? And it really, and finding the foods that work for you. I really took that journey and thought, okay, what's worked for me and what hasn't. Alcohol didn't work for me. The diet I'm on, it's not like a diet. It's not like a uh, you know Weight Watchers, or it's not a paleo, or it's not a fasting. It's just it's the things that I've liked.
It's what you can do every week.
It's what I can do every day, and I actually enjoy my breakfast. I do need to vary it a little bit, but I did work with a nutritionist, and they made sure I'm having berries and I'm having the right macros and I'm eating the right proteins, and so I know what I should be doing when I cut fat, and I know what I should be doing when I build muscle, and I know what I should be doing pre and post workouts, and so those time. And I think when you have a nutritionist and a personal trainer, like the extreme athletes, this abs are made in the kitchen, right? It's all about diet. The strength and condition is 50% of it. The running is kind of the other 50%. Sticking to the program, and and giving yourself those kind of, don't beat yourself up. Don't be too hard on yourself. Everyone's busy, but find that kind of time. And I'm a big advocate for sitting down with a diary, a month diary in front of me, and saying, right, okay, this is May. You know what I mean? Well, it's actually July. So I print one for July, and I'd be like, right, okay, what's my work schedule? What's the family doing? This is when I want to run. This is when I want to swim. These are the events I've booked in or not. I've always got things going on. And this year I've just tried not to go too crazy and just do things to kind of pull me through, so I have a bit of a focus, but not get sidetracked by other people's agendas. Because I think, I'm all or nothing. So I'll jump on someone else's timeline and I'll like, let's do an ultra. Yeah, let's do an Ironman. Let's like change the world. And actually, I'm realizing I don't really need to do that. I just, that Fit for 50 and beyond, it really is a concerted effort to do something that I can continue to do like when I'm 60. And then it's going to be fit for 70. I mean, can I still get out and walk and swim and do stuff? An active lifestyle, and that little and often. And of course, I'm still going to go out for the adventures, but it's going to be with the understanding of this could knock you off track, Mark. So have a post plan in place and get back on that treadmill. Excuse the pun. As soon as you can. Break it down 50%. Make sure you have a decent break. Make sure you get back onto your nutrition, because I've seen it like the addicts. When you're addicted to alcohol, and it's, and you have this kind of A-type personality. I've realized I probably have ADHD because my son and my daughter has it, and my brother's been diagnosed with it. So it's in the family, and that impulsivity has definitely been both a catalyst and a hindrance. You know what I mean? It's stopped me from having that consistency in my life, and sort of driven me down that sort of alcohol, as well as what the alcohol does to your internal body, fueled with the catalyst of the impulsivity and that addictive kind of personality. but I'm trying to kind of replace those things with healthier options, I'm listening to a lot of podcasts the way I take information in. So things like this is brilliant for me. Jim Quick on, how the mind works, Diary of the CEO and the guests that kind of really play into the things I want to learn about at that time, about alcohol and why it's bad for us and what it does to our brains, and how people struggle with that. And I have to consume myself in it and then make my informed choice about what's the best path for me, because we're all different, right?
Absolutely.
And I think, just, so consistency is key, ditching the alcohol, carbs can be your friend, but my body works better, with specific types of carbs, pasta and rice and potato, those bland grey carbs don't do me any good. I work better off proteins. I work better off healthy fats, fish oils and, nuts and that sort of stuff. Water, trying to get the water in. And, my treat is kind of the Schweppes kind of fizzy soda water. It's like 40 calories. It is empty calories, but it's not, it's not like 200 calories for a beer. I mean, or full fat Coke or something like that. But I allow myself these things. We've just come back from Woolacombe coastal steering for my boy's 18th. Took a group of his friends down. I'm 50, right? And I'm doing this stuff, jumping off of rocks and swimming and eating fish and chips. And I'm like, I didn't drink alcohol. They did. They didn't drink too much, to be honest, because this young generation seems to be a bit more sensible. Like, they know the detrimental effects of alcohol, and there's a massive wave of people stepping back from that. You know what I mean? Guinness.
I think that's why there's so much. You mentioned Guinness. I was just about to say zero alcohol drinks. So the 0.0 Guinness, and there's a lot of that there. But just going back, it seems like there was a shift from the all or nothing type attitude, which a lot of people, and I see this so often, and you've now reined that back to be more consistent and then little and often. So rather than going gung-ho for these big events, you're now doing it more of a moderation and a more controlled. And if you do the odd big event, you're looking what you're going to do post the event rather than going straight into party time. Is that right? That's my take on the.
It's mad how far in these 9 years like I've come and how much I've learned. And now I kind of want to give back. I want to share this journey. I want to help people. Hence my Fit for 50 kind of blog or and posts and stuff like that. I kind of use it for accountability, but I know good friends follow, and I get the odd comments here and there, but for me it is just when I post, I've done it. It's almost like if it's not on Strava, it didn't happen for me. So but,
I was going to say, Mark, how do they find you on Strava?
I think it's just Mark Kenna.
I've got you on Instagram. Is it just your name?
Yeah, I think it's just Mark Kenna, and it's an Ironman picture, me doing this, as we all do, as we cross the line.
I'm just going to type it in the comments. So Mark Kenna, got it. So it's like a double Kenna, yes.
Yeah.
So if people want to follow you on Strava and Instagram, that's
where definitely, man. But it's kind of all those things your nan told you when you were younger, like you've had ample portion sizes, or you don't want to be doing this, or maybe you want to take a walk after your meal, or you don't want to be eating that before you go to bed. You'll have nightmares, about cheese before, all these things. Like, and I've always been a bit of a lover of like simplifying and sort of these kind of phrases that sum up so much. But you don't really know what they mean unless you know the history behind these phrases, or you've been through it and you look back and you realize, oh, consistency is key. Yeah, I really now know that. I thought I did 100%. Maybe.
Yeah.
I thought I maybe knew it after 2 years, but no, after 9 years, I think 9 years is quite consistent. But the yo-yoing was the kind of the ironing out. And I think I'm an electronic engineer. I deal with sound. I know about oscillation. So there's a big peak, and then there's a oscillation. And before things kind of settle down, that kind of ripple effect. And I think when you throw a stone in the pebble, it's a big splash. That was our sort of Mark 2014, let's do this, let's raise money,
Yeah.
cancer
Yeah.
research, let's take everybody with pow, pow, pow. And all of a sudden it's like, 9 years later, it's like, yeah, Mark's getting older. I'm just stepping back a little bit. And now I'm kind of like, trying to be efficient,
Mm.
trying to look for the life adventures. It's all about people and adventure and experience,
Yeah. Yeah.
and sustainability and just staying in this happy place for as long as I can. And I think for
Absolutely.
me, using the running to get out and just, this last 18 months running for me has not been about just, can I run a marathon? How quick can I run? Can I run 100K? I know I can do all that. Sometimes I'll be driving down the motorway and it's like 60 miles to Bristol, whatever it is. And I'm like, yeah, I can run that. If the car breaks down now, I can run that. I mean,
Yeah.
but actually, like, I don't need to, almost like you don't need to prove yourself. It's like, what do I like doing? Where do I feel
Yeah.
strong?
Yeah.
And it's running fast 5Ks, running a quick 10K, going out and just thinking of nothing. They call it naked running. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm always
Without your
standing up.
watch. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
standing up. I'm always doing this, and I think I'll always do that. But I've been looking at that less, and just enjoying it more, and just having that time to just process stuff or not. Like, what I mean? Just
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
emptying your mind. And, I've never ran with music. Well, it's weird, the first sort of 4 months, 5 months, I had the music in and playlists on my iPod and stuff like that. But,
You don't do
quite
that now.
quite quickly, since start training for the marathon, I hadn't didn't use it, the headphones. I think they're illegal in a lot of races anyway, because you need to
Yeah.
have your
Yeah.
awareness about you. But just the training, it's just, Jerry Rodriguez, Tower 24, obviously, it's swimming and the mindset and the mind space and the meditation and the yoga and that kind of, and how to swim fast, not fighting the water, the stroke
Mm,
rate,
mm,
you know, just understanding all that, understanding the mechanics of the running and, why you train intervals and the VO2 max and
mm,
how you
mm.
fuel your runs and all that sort of stuff is
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
interesting. And the same on the bike, like heels, 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 man. Like otherwise get the fuel in, electrolytes. Like otherwise you cramp up and fall off the
So,
bike.
would you say, Mark, you've now found your utopia? Because obviously you've been through, as you say, the past 8, 9 years, a classic. I guess a lot of people up and down, or funny enough, you mentioned about going back. One of the reasons why you were yo-yoing is you were coming back too hard or too fast and then having to cut back. I actually saw a graph today because obviously I'm looking at all sorts of things to do with Achilles tendon, and this physio had showed a graph. Oh, let's go here, and then it was basically going down. So someone would start hard. Oh, I've hurt myself, and then go back down. Start again. Oh, I've gone too hard, and it was basically up and down, but a downward cycle. And it looks like you've worked out, having gone down enough times, you've now worked it out that you need to keep it more in moderation and enjoy as you're going along. Enjoying, it's not just about doing the mega races, it's enjoying every run, would you say?
Yeah, I think, it's a different outlook on why I'm going out and exercising. I mean, before it'd be like training for an event, and then
Yeah,
that event would get bigger and bigger and bigger and faster and faster and faster, and you push your
yeah,
body more and more. And I'm not saying I can't do that. It's just like I did find out that my body did start to break. I have had an ongoing issue with my knee since the
yeah,
early rugby days, which is
yeah.
why I initially gave up
Running.
sort of playing rugby. A
Yeah.
lot of hard tackles on frosty ground, and
Mm.
so yeah, whether that's part of it or not, but it's just it's. I don't think I ever was a long distance runner, but I enjoyed the challenge. But my body, it was quite time consuming to do those big
Mm. Mm.
trainings properly, and
Yeah.
without. And I think the last ultra I did was the Cotswold Way in 2019, maybe
And that's
2020.
not a short one, is it?
No, that's 100K again,
Yeah.
and and it did break my body. I didn't do enough heel training. 75% of people walked it, probably for a good reason. I think it was like 1,300 meters of elevation in the first
Yeah,
day,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
like 600 or 700 meters in the second day. So it's
Wow.
not massive. It's big enough. It's
Mm,
not London.
mm.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah.
really kind of, yeah, made me think about my, what's my happy place. And I think,
Yeah.
training, keeping it 30, 40 minutes, trying to get faster on the 5K runs, and
Mm,
increasing the
mm,
VO2 max. I'm
mm.
really enjoying, because
Yeah.
my body, it seems to be holding together. And I'm doing that instead of over like a 3-month period. I'm like, okay, run, can I get back to my sort of PB, which is 23:11, which I actually got in 2017. I've never run that fast since. So it shows you the peak of
I'm
where I
sure you'll
was.
be, yeah, I'm sure you'll be beating that mark. But it looks, you found your happy place now. So what are your plans now for the next, we're now in July. Do you have plans over the next 6 months for the rest of the year, or you're just going to keep things ticking over and just enjoying, as you say, running naked, not looking at the watch so often?
I think, well, we have an Alzheimer's marathon walk around
Mhm.
the southwest coast.
Yeah.
So we start in Brixham, and we actually did that this year with the lads. We walked 65 kilometers in just over 2 days, um, and that was a great adventure. We bivvied out under the stars, but it was also a good recce for the South Devon Trek 26. It's called, so for Alzheimer's Society.
Mhm.
My mum was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2020,
Yeah.
so I think that's kind of played into it, with going back to dropping the alcohol thing, and
Mm, mm.
stepping back. There's been many reasons why I've done that. It's kind of the
Yeah.
yo-yoing.
Yeah.
It's, you know someone, my mum having a dementia, and everyone in the family kind of drinking quite, and whether that would have prevented it or not, it just really makes you stop and think sometimes,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, when the fun stops, stop. You know what I mean? When the
Yes.
party's
Yeah.
over,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
step back. So, so there's, once again, there's a few of us doing that on September the 9th. I did an Olympic triathlon, which I did, not intense training, but I was pretty much fit just to do it. I think I got in the water the first time, like the week before, and just smashed out a fast swim. And I think
Mm,
I got
mm.
sub 3 hours, which, it's not my fastest, but it's not my slowest. So that was quite nice to just know you can knock out a 3 hour Olympic try, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
And then I swam I'm really getting into my swimming lately. So I wanted to swim my first long distance marathon swim. So
This
I
is
did that.
open water swimming, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I did that in June.
Yeah.
So 10K swim in a lake. And I did that in just under 4 hours. So I think, I would like to do a longer swim. Maybe there's a 16K Isla Scilly swim, which would be great either end of the year or next year.
Yeah.
Um, I need to not go too crazy. I think
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Edgley, I
Slowly
don't know if you
build
know
up now.
Ross Edgley's just swam in a lake out in Italy, where I think he swam for 3 days non-stop and done 70 kilometers. But he had to stop because his hands and feet were going to fall off. I think it
Well,
was
yeah.
so.
I mean, if you're in that position all the time, might stop for food and drink, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he did literally. He sort of didn't stop at all for 3 days. We went through
Mm,
three,
mm,
2 or 3
mm.
nights without stopping, and did
Yeah. Yeah.
70K. But for me, it was 4 hours. We every K I just took on some fuel. And it once again, that was an adventure, because it was pushing me out of my comfort zone. I had achy shoulders, but I think, with swimming, you can probably swim every day and not do yourself too much damage. And
Mm, mm.
so I think I would probably going to do more swimming.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hate swimming in the swimming pool, but I might have to, just to keep it ticking over, if I'm going to
Yeah.
take on any
Yeah.
big swims
Yeah.
next year. Um, Kind of toying with the idea of maybe doing this one again, the half
Yeah.
Ironman, which is a local event here
The one in
in
the
the Cotswolds.
Cotswolds.
Yeah, it's just so good. Like, it's flat, it's fast, it's in the Cotswolds. It's, you got shouty Andy shouting at you, and a lot of local people like help, like organize and marshal
Yeah.
the event. And so it's just a good, like 10, 15 minute up the road event to be a
Yeah.
part of. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, so I think doing some more triathlons, getting out on the bike a little bit more,
Excellent.
and just enjoying those challenges, and having a few of maybe cycling to Amsterdam, or I think they do Clock to Rock, which is Big Ben to the Rock of Gibraltar, or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
something like this, over the next 5 years,
Right.
you know, yeah.
Sounds brilliant, Mark. I mean, we could probably talk for another hour and a half, I think, although we're not quite up to an hour and a half, but we could talk forever and ever, but it's brilliant. And thank you for sharing this journey, because it has been a bit up and down. For those who've come in and out, there's been lots of people dipping in and out and listening. And obviously, with the time of day, night it is here on a Tuesday, I think it's worth rewinding and listening all the way through, because there's a lot of lessons in there, isn't there, Mark? And I think often they say, what is it? Someone with knowledge learns from their mistakes, but a wise man learns from other people's mistakes. And obviously, you've been very open and honest and sharing what you've been through, and I think it's brilliant. And obviously, I see Colin Johnston's left a message there saying, "Great interview. What an incredible journey and interesting career you've had." It is brilliant, Mark. You see, because you're obviously very busy man working in the film industry, and being open that you've gone through things, and now you still you found your way, and now you've sort of settled, as they say. I mean, that's probably your grandmother would have said that as well, wouldn't she?
I say moderation,
Yeah,
ample, what I mean, just like,
yeah, yeah.
horseshit,
So
all these things.
everything all the old people told us, and when we were kids thinking they're talking a load of rubbish, actually it's not. So
I'm talking to as many old people as possible now. Like, hello.
you
I
can
spoke to
talk to
this
me.
guy. Spoke to this guy
I'm
down
old man,
Asda,
yeah.
and he was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, you don't need to buy an air fryer." He said, "Just come down the shops and buy this." You know what I mean? He had like a couple of sausage rolls and some food that they were getting rid of cheap, and he said,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, and I'm like, I'm just listening, and I'm consuming, knowledge, and knowing, like, as you just said, like, the wise man will learn from other people. And I think, with 9 years under my belt, I'm absorbing as much as possible. I'm trying to steer my kids in the right direction, but I think actions speak louder than words, and lead by example. And I think,
yeah,
they can
yeah.
see that, and their mates can
Excellent.
see that. And and I think, going back to the work and the busy schedule, I have, I am freelancing. I am sort of, we're making our second feature film. The schedule is up and down, but I've been doing my push-ups, and Australian pull-ups, which is under
Yeah,
using a
yeah,
table. In the studio, I found a gym, like, in one of the places I've worked. I've ran around the block in another place.
yeah, yeah,
Just like, really, there is no excuse. You know what I mean? I
no.
think if you say you're going to do something, I don't understand people start at 6 in the morning and finish at 6 at night. By the time they get home, 7, half 7, you might not want to do it, but you just have to get out, put your trainers on, and
Yeah,
before you
yeah.
sit down, before you have your dinner, get it done, or before
It's
you go to work. It's just, or
exactly.
in your lunch break. It's
Yeah.
just
You're
really make it
fitting it
happen.
in. We fit it in when we can, which basically sums it up nicely, is do what you can when you can. And obviously, for some people, it might be first thing, some people might be lunchtime, it might be in the evening, but work out what works for you. All I can say, Mark, I'm very eternally grateful. And those who've been on and off leaving comments and commenting, so thank you so much for your time and sharing. And no doubt we'll have you back on. We'll do the hat trick, Mark, because we did have you on a couple of years back. So we'll get you back on. And now you're 50. But thank you, everybody, for watching. And as I say, if you've enjoyed this, please do share it with everybody. Fit for 50 and beyond, Fatman to Ironman. That's Mark Kenna. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Mark.
So it's been a pleasure, man. And yeah, I look forward to more of your posts, and I hope your foot heals soon, man.
I'm sure it will. The Achilles is all uppity doodah. Well, there'll be a video coming out later in the week for everybody.
Inspirational, mate.